Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton. Along with me, as always, is our early enhanced enthusiast, Bethany McChesney, who Riley wanted to call the dog leash liaison. Because
The
dog
oh
leash.
yes.
Yeah. Do you want to go through your dog leash stuff again?
Oh yeah. And I mean, I feel like we've talked about
Yeah.
this, but
Like multiple times, and we're
yeah,
noticing no difference.
no, no. Why are we not changing the world, Dave? Yeah, we were out running with our group in the morning. There was like seven of us, and sure enough, and Clyde comes with us, and yeah, we see this huge bully breed type dog just come bolting across the street. And we're like, oh, great. Jeff squares up because he has Clyde on him, and everyone's screaming at the dog to stop, nothing. And him and Clyde just go at it. And the impact of this dog, like, knocked Jeff down to his knees. And, like, so Jeff's fighting with the dog, everyone's screaming at the dog. And it was like, it was not listening. And everything was just like flailing, and it all happened so fast. And, you couldn't even really get a hold of the dog. Like, so a couple of us were like trying to kick it. And finally, eventually, I got a good solid kick in the ribs, which stunned it. Like, it barely even knocked the wind out of it. Like, it vibrated through my whole body. But this dog was so big. And then eventually ran back to its yard. And then the owner got a hold of it. But it was like, this woman was probably she was older, not mobile. Like it took her, that whole amount of time to get from her front step just to the sidewalk. And we were on the far other side of the street. Like we were potentially on this dog's property or something. And yeah, she still couldn't even get control of it. She had its leash and it was like flailing all over the place. She couldn't get it into a car. She couldn't get it into the house. And but anyways, in the fall, for Jeff, he ended up he's not even sure how it happened, but we think his finger got wrapped up in Clyde's collar or something, and he ended up dislocating and fracturing his finger, which sucks, but again, if that's the worst of it, like Clyde was fine. I don't know the state of the other dog. Um, I mean, it might have a broken rib, but I find dogs take impact so differently. Um, but yeah, so and everyone was pretty shooken up. Like it's a lot to kind of deal with. And then these you kind of run through your head like, what if it went after us instead? Like it was clearly just interested in Clyde, but the woman, like, no apologies, no nothing. Like she was probably in a bit of shock too, but it was just so frustrating. So then Jeff had to go into the hospital and for x-rays and stuff and which was confirmed then that it was broken. And we filed a police report, and so the police did go by and talk to her, and she was remorseful and she understood the magnitude of the situation. Um, but it's just so now we're like, and we usually do carry pepper spray because this is the third time that we've been attacked by dogs just in the last like half a year. This was the most significant fight that ever happened where like the dog would not stop. And yeah, so now, it's too bad because now it's like we have to carry weapons. We have to like, just to go for a run and just to protect our dog. And it's so maddening. And I do find in our small town, off-leash dogs are a constant. And it is so frustrating. And everyone thinks their dog is not the problem. And, because there's open spaces, they feel like their dog should be able to roam free. And it's so constant now that it's become like more than a frustration. It's like we did have there was a town council meeting where again it was brought up because a client of mine is a
Mhm.
counselor, and so they talked about increasing bylaws like fines over it. We didn't press charges on this woman, but we could have, and she was grateful we didn't. But yeah, it's so frustrating. And I hear it from anyone that owns a dog where they're like it's the same for them. And it's just, especially when you're running with a dog, you seem to be such a target.
Well, yeah, because you're running. The dogs take that as like not always an attack thing, but like a run with you thing. Like go like as an
Yeah.
invitation.
Yeah.
But and I keep telling people always like you think, oh, my dog's good. It's not my dog. My dog's not the problem. Great. Your dog's also not safe from a dog who may be the problem. Right? Like what if, and I think I mentioned this to Jeff, what if Clyde was a big vicious motherfucker and
Yeah.
that dog went and ran and attacked him and Clyde tore his sword out? Like,
Right. Like,
that's just
there's a
protection for your
lot of
freedom.
little dogs that are off leash,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh, whatever, it's a little dog. Yeah, but like right now, Clyde has been attacked so many times that anything that comes close to him is reactive.
Yeah.
So if that little dog wanders over, Clyde just might grab him by the throat because, again, he doesn't know anymore what's a threat or not because he's been attacked so many times. So then whose fault is that? That would be our fault. And it's not fair. It's not fair to Clyde. And same thing, if he hurt this dog, like really hurt this dog. Um, Again, whose fault is it? Like Clyde could be at fault for that, and that's not fair.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he would be or not. He shouldn't be, right? It's the person who let their dog off leash. You're doing what you're supposed to do, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think they just view like anytime a dog bites, that then like they're the problem. I don't know. I've never been in this position
Those
before, but
should be in the winner.
was that? Well, I know. I'm
Should
like,
be in the
what if you're
winner.
winning the fight? Like the other dog started it, and Clyde just won it.
Yeah, anyway, it sucks. People stop doing it, especially in the state. Like I think in the States too. So like theoretically, that could have cost you guys a lot of money for medical bill, go to the hospital, get the dislocated finger, all that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
whereas here
Yeah.
it's a giant inconvenience here, but it doesn't really cost money, right? Other than missed time from work or whatever.
Vets
But
cost money.
yeah, vets cost a lot of money.
Well, and that's the thing too, is we do tend to try to protect Clyde because if he gets injured, it could be a huge vet bill. Like, us, it's different. Like if we
You
get
bring the children and you can throw the children in front. They're covered with medical care, right? So the children are like a shield,
Yeah.
a finance shield.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's kind of what we kept thinking too, was like our kids run with our dog. Like if that was one of them, the only reason this dog stopped was because I got a really solid connection with a kick, like finally. And even if Jeff was by himself, like what would have happened? Like there were so many scenarios then that run through your head where it's like that everything was fine, but there's so many cases where it could have been not fine. And it's kind of scary to think about, and it's not fair. And you just got to put your dog on a leash. Like this was
Oh,
a and this was a breed of dog that should, under no circumstances, ever be off leash. Ever.
well, like I said, we've gone through it before.
Yeah.
Stop doing it. Hopefully, the people who listen won't do it. Right?
I feel like everyone that listens to me complain is like understanding because a lot of us are runners and we run with our dog and we get it. It's like the people that, yeah,
Well,
you
even
know,
without like Lisa Collin had that one where that dog attacked her when she was on her run in the morning and stuff like that. And she
yeah.
ended up bloodied from it, right?
Yeah. And I almost feel like you're safer without your dog, which is so sad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So don't bring your dog, bring a hammer.
Yeah, well, we're gonna buy like, are we gonna get a taser? Do we have to carry a baton? Like, yeah, just run with a hammer. I don't know.
I think your pepper spray is probably the best thing because Anyway, all right. Enhanced games. You've been on about this for a while because you're excited. You find it very interesting, and I do too. So I'll let you go forward. You roll with it.
Yeah, I find it really fascinating because I think I know whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, it's happening. And I do think and we've said this before, like I wish there was more of me that didn't like it, but I think what they're doing though, it's for the right reasons, and which I understand the reasons. And ultimately it is for and I do think what's going to happen with this is it is going to cause a shift in one way or the other. Things always get taken too far and there's a lot of misunderstandings, but I think it's a shift that needs to happen because I think within the Olympics themselves, there are so many flaws and it's just a lot of antiquated rules and things that don't make sense now, than when the Olympics started in 1896. And at some point, we kind of have to like look at the whole picture and think like, why is this still like this? Why are athletes still living below the poverty line to just be able to compete when the Olympics makes billions of dollars every year? Like, where's that money going? Like the IOC president, why is he making so much money? And like, why all of these things around it, and even with obviously the enhanced games, everyone's focused on like the enhancement processes. But it's more than just about, let's juice up a bunch of athletes and see what they can do. Like it's way more than that. So I think that's where I find it so interesting because I think ultimately what they're trying to do is give athletes fair pay, fair medical access, and just give them more autonomy over their bodies. And also, they're also trying to help the advancement of science from the perspective of how can we help people live healthier longer.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things too that with our banned lists is there are things on that aren't necessarily. So when you have this list of banned substances, so if something, and some of it is there's different categories of substances.
Yeah.
You have stimulants, you have your recovery things, you have anabolics, you have things that help your focus, and not everything on that is bad or even has necessarily negative side effects to it. But because it could improve your performance, it's on the list. So I think there's things on the list too that because they're on a banned list, there's been a lack of advancements in the science of them because our top athletes can't use them. So companies aren't putting money into the research of some of these drug, and it's not all drugs. Like, we're talking about peptides too, which that's not a drug. And when we're delaying the science and the advancement of them because they're on a banned list, then these compounds and these drugs can also help the general population to heal better from their injuries, to be more independent later in life, concentrate better at work, like basic things that help the general population. So to kind of take a deeper look at, why are these things still here? Like, what if we allow people to use them in a safe manner? So, and then throw more research at it so we can help other people too. And I think that's part of it too, is we don't want to keep delaying science. And I find it kind of funny too, because if we as a human species don't learn to adapt and heal better and take care of our health better with the advancement of AI. Like, Jeff and I joke sometimes about how like how fast could this go? Like, is AI going to take over the world? Like, are all our jobs going to be obsolete? So if we don't advance as a human species with the science that we have available too, we're kind of shortchanging ourselves. So I think there's a lot of things around the enhanced games that really do have like a good purpose to them. And it's not just let's create a bunch of like, cyborg crazy, like because and then they do have a lot of rules around keeping people healthy. So it's not all bad, but of course, because we have doping equals bad in our, as the story in our heads, we've all just kind of shut it down as like this is wrong.
Well, AI will never take over until it learns that High Rocks does not stand for hybrid rock star.
Oh man, I know.
I'm fighting this
Yeah,
battle
no,
online. I'm losing.
well,
Um,
obviously it's not perfect.
no, but yeah, I mean, the thing for me that is interesting, and we talked about this, you say advancements and everything like that. Well, some of these things that start out as freak shows and sideshows teach us stuff, and we learn from it. Like, the UFC has completely revolutionized the art of like one-on-one physical combat compared to what it was in the beginning when it was just a circus sideshow. Now it's a sport. It's this, it's that. It's become, legitimate mainstream. This kind of thing can happen too. It's very interesting to me, and you talk about as soon as something's taboo, they don't pursue it, right? Like you say, it's drugs, it's doping, it's taboo. It's never been illegal. It's just against governing body rules. So,
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of things on the WADA list of banned substances that are they're FDA approved. They're not illegal at all. Even back in like when I was in high school, creatine was on that list.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it was taken off the list in like early 2000s.
Well, I mean, like pot, like cannabis is on it.
Yeah, and I mean some of it is just kind of it's not performance enhancing
No.
it being on it. But anyways, like there are things on the list that I mean athletes should be taking, people should be taking. So it's just as soon as something is deemed to potentially help performance, it ends up on the list. Um, but yeah, so the list, I think one of the things that could come of this that could be beneficial is to just really go through that list with a fine-tooth comb. But the thing too that you have to realize with the enhanced games is it's not a free for all with you can take whatever you want, like, go to the extremes. They are really, really also they're monitoring the health of the athletes. They have health testing on a regular basis. They don't, so they're saying they instead of drug testing, they do health testing.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make sure that whatever the athletes are doing, they're doing it in a healthy manner. And the other thing that I think could be good about this is it will also help to get more information out about stuff that people are taking anyways, but they're learning about it from like their gym bro buddies.
Yeah.
So, and we obviously, when we think about most PEDs, we think steroid
Yeah.
categories.
The whole anabolic stuff.
Right, exactly. And I mean, for anyone that goes to the gym, I've heard stats as high as 75% of men take steroids, like your regular gym goers.
Mhm.
So, and where do they learn from it? Where do they learn dosing and whatever to take, and where do they get it? Like from gym bros.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all gym bros don't know what they're talking about, but if it's completely taboo, then we're getting the information from potentially misinformed people. So if we open it up so we can like teach people that if you're going to do it, this is the safe way, and with dosages and timing and everything else, and then it does create um, a potentially safer situation for it because, and again, it's not like all of that is bad either. Like it can help people in later stages of their life feel a lot better, just again in their day to day and perform, their day to day tasks feeling a lot better, eliminate a lot of signs of depression later in life and stuff like that too. So again, it's not all bad, but if we kind of take the stigma away from it all, then we can, yeah, get more accurate information to the general population as well.
Yeah. Well, when you make people not doing it in back alleys, they're going to be doing it
Right.
safer. They're going to be doing it in
Right.
front, right? It's,
Yeah.
the stuff I
And I think that's the ultimately one of the problems too with the like with the Olympics and professional sports is it's not like they're not doing it. It's just now they have to do it secretly and potentially getting assistance from non-public medical professionals and that's what this is what they talked about too is statistically, 44% of Olympians have admitted to taking a banned substance.
yeah.
And that's just the ones that admit it.
Yeah.
So if it's happening anyways, but it has to be kept so secret, um, then why don't we just allow it, but make sure everybody's healthy? And I'm saying what their basis
Yeah, that's
behind.
their logic. That's their logic. Yeah. Well, I mean, think
Right.
back to the days of Ben Johnson, right? Ben Johnson goes, gets pegged, runs his great 100-meter sets the record, gets nicked for like anabolic, pure steroids. Big shame, medal strip, blah, 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 the whole thing. And years later, we find out every man on that starting line was doped.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
one of them.
Yeah.
And it's, you know,
Yeah. I've heard that the only 100-meter champion who hasn't had a positive test was Usain Bolt.
yeah, yeah. I don't remember any controversy with Donovan Bailey either, but
No, I didn't either. That's just what I heard once, and I don't remember him ever having any positive tests, but
Usain's high on chicken nuggets. That's all he does.
He's a genetic freak. Like they, they do exist. And that's the thing too, is you don't have to take any performance enhancements to be a part of the enhanced games. So like if Usain Bolt's like, I don't need any of that, I'll still be the best doped up
Yeah.
because he has,
Hmm.
he can go in it. Because the other thing is the prize money at
Yeah.
the enhanced games. So they're they're paying a fair wage to anyone. So they're choosing their athletes, and it's not based on country.
Yeah.
Um, so they're taking the politics out of it too. So you're not representing your country, you're representing yourself, basically. Like you're like human species,
Yep.
not, Canadian or whatever, American athlete. Which eliminates one of the problems with the Olympics is the extreme political nature of it. So if someone wants to come in, they apply and then they get accepted. So he could come back and say
Yeah.
like because you get paid a fair wage. Um and then the prize money, so they haven't said yet what the actual prize money be if you win, but if you set a world record, you get $1 million.
Yeah. That would be enough to gun for.
Yeah. So I mean, Usain Bolt just might want to come out of retirement and now he can take some peptides so he can recover a little bit faster because he's a little bit older in age. I mean, I don't know. I think what it will definitely do is draw attention. Like I think it's going to be watched.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It'd be watch and the perfect place to have it in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
where you got to do it. That's perfect. That's awesome. So I took a quick look and I looked on the website and I saw so they have aquatics, athletics, and strength, but I didn't see particularly what the events were in each discipline. And I don't know if
Yes.
they've listed
The
that.
first ones, this one they're just doing three sports.
Mhm.
So they're doing swimming, but just the 50 and the 100 free, the 50 and 100 butterfly. And then the track, they're just doing the 100-meter sprint and the 100 and 110 hurdles.
Okay.
And then in weightlifting, they're just doing the snatch and the clean and jerk. So what they did when they were deciding on what events were they picked what are the most watched events in the Olympics. So they did talk about combat sports originally being in it, but I think there's too many.
There's a lot of legalities and
Yeah,
setting it up.
there's
Yeah.
too many questions around the combat situation. I think particularly, well, and we'll talk about this, like the differences with men and women in this situation,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think it is really different. And so I think they just couldn't really figure it out, and even which ones to do for sure. Because I had heard MMA, which isn't really in the Olympics,
No,
but
no, no.
they were going to do boxing,
Yeah. Like your combat sports in the Olympics, I believe, are judo, taekwondo, boxing,
wrestling.
and wrestling. And I didn't know if they had taken wrestling out. They had talked about taking wrestling out, which I think
Well,
would have been tragic. But
yeah, I mean, again, it's like the original.
yeah, yeah, you think back to Greco-Roman.
Yeah. But
Original.
again, when you look at spectators, it's not up there at the top.
No, and
So
to be honest, none of those sports are.
no.
Like everybody thinks,
It's still more niche, right?
yeah, boxing and UFC would be the ones that people watch. I mean, this coming from a guy who did judo for years and competed in judo. God damn it, it's boring to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like if
People
you don't know
are
what's
like,
going on, it's like, oh, he fell down and it's over. All right, well, all right. I don't really got what happened there, but whatever.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
again,
I
it's
think
kind of niche.
I think what they're doing makes sense and keep it simple. And I like to keep the small group, have it so that if it does work, people are like, oh, let's add more, not, oh, you got too many things and I lost interest and I got confused and just keep it
Yeah.
really. Yeah, like I said the other day, I would like to see powerlifting in it because powerlifting is not in the regular Olympics.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
bench press, deadlift, squat combo, which,
Yeah. But again, I mean, you're talking about a sport that's like
yeah, 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 sure, it's dirty.
everyone's doing it anyways, so
Yeah, so give them the chance.
yeah,
Bring,
I
bring,
know. I mean, I kind of look at things like strongman is already
yeah.
essentially the enhanced games.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't do strongman just because it's so random.
well, it already is
Yeah, yeah,
enhanced.
yeah, it's already is enhanced, but also the events are so random. Like,
Oh, yes, I see.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Odd
Where
object carries
yeah,
instead.
odd object cherries, weird farmers carries, different stuff. That's cool. I love watching it, but it's
Yeah.
very, very random. Whereas
Well, yeah, it doesn't, you're not going to see a difference. Like it's going to be the same guys.
yeah, whereas powerlifting, which might be the same guys too, it's it's very uniform. It's very standardized. It's boom, boom. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. I would have really liked to see a longer run.
yeah, shot
Like,
put.
or yeah, or a throwing event, or like even like the 1500 on the track, like something a little bit more than the 100,
Yeah, yeah.
like a
And
mile,
I'm
a
sure
mile.
I'm sure they'll get that. I'm sure they'll get that if it's a success. But
Yeah.
I like what they're going. So we talked about, and this was something I mentioned to you. I didn't know, like I think you hadn't heard it before, but when they're dealing with, and this is like the only time you and I ever get political, when they're dealing with the male female divisions, it's not listed as male or female. It's listed as XX or XY,
Mhm.
and it's got nothing to do with how you identify or anything like that. It's
What are your
like
chromosomes?
what are your chromosomes? That's where you go. And
Yeah.
I'm like that. Regardless of your beliefs, that is an interesting way
Yeah.
of putting it out there.
Well, it just makes it a science question
Yeah, yeah, it
and
really.
not a, yeah, yeah, and
I
not a
thought that was
personal
very
question.
clever. I thought that was very,
Yeah.
very clever.
And again, I think when we're pushing the envelope of the way we think about things in sport, because something's been done a certain way for so long, I think some things come out of it that are really positive. And,
Hmm.
maybe the Olympics can take something from that and be like, okay, maybe this is how we deal with it because, we're dealing so much now with the transgender issues in the Olympics. And it's all that makes the headlines anymore. So I don't know, you got to test your chromosomes, and that's the one you compete against.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what, but.
So
But
so
yeah,
far, so far, I haven't heard a ton about the athletes except this swimmer, who when we see pictures of, definitely seems like he has been enhanced compared to his previous swimming physique.
yeah, what was his name? I forget. But so I've seen this video that went a little bit viral, and it was actually two different guys. So um
Okay, so
yeah. Yeah, so the one video that I saw was actually two different swimmers. Like the one that they showed a picture of the guy that was super jacked, that wasn't the guy that actually set the world record.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just checking out this video here, and I click
Magnuson, so it was the last
James
name was
Magnuson.
yeah, so he said he was going to come back. He just retired. He was going to come back and set the 50-meter free world record, and another guy snuck in and got it ahead of time and took the million. So, but I mean, these guys will both be competing at the enhanced games. So,
Yeah,
um,
and I'm going to show you what this guy looks like because his lats are about to pop right out of his swimsuit.
yeah,
There we are. Like, look at this man. That is a beastly man.
yeah.
Yeah,
James Magnuson. Yeah. So he was not the man that actually did set the world record, but he will be competing at the enhanced games.
yeah,
So this is what I wanted to point out too is it's not going to be a competition. So he was like, I'm going to juice myself to the gills and,
yeah,
smash this record or whatever. That's really not what they're encouraging because they are doing health testing. So they said as soon as someone is, and they're particularly testing people's hearts. So as soon as someone is deemed to be in an unhealthy state, so if you've taken anything too far, you're disqualified immediately. So they're not allowing people to just quote unquote juice themselves to the gills and then see what they can do. That's not what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is allow people to use what they feel like they need to use to help themselves, but they're not allowed to take it to an unhealthy level. You will not be able to compete. So everything has to be everyone has to have a stated public doctor. So not, your doctor who
Mhm.
was, you know, whatever.
You're a gym
But
bro doctor.
yeah, exactly. Not it has to be a publicly listed doctor who is constantly monitoring you and making sure, so their reputation is on the line too.
Mhm.
Um, and whatever you're taking, it has to be FDA approved. So you're not like, mixing concoctions in the back of your
Taking
garage.
those sports steroids from your vet.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be FDA approved for humans. And you have to have regular health checks. So they are still trying to keep things regulated. Like we're not trying to create a bunch of, freaks and then have people having heart attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also where, again, this is the situation with women that makes me more nervous, is obviously then there's gonna be women that are taking um testosterone.
Yeah.
And this is the part that makes me nervous, is obviously there are some things too where it can cause irreversible damage
Yep.
to, reproductive health. And so I wonder how they're going to handle this with women. So then, women starts down this path of testosterone and, enhancements, and they're essentially then in some capacity as if they were transitioning,
Yeah.
right? So then that can create a lot of irreversible, even with endocrine malfunction. So I hope, and this is the kind of thing where I'm like, I'm curious to see what happens because this could be bad. I'm curious to see then what they allow on the female side of things. Are we monitoring their testosterone levels so that they don't go above natural levels for a female, so then they don't start essentially transitioning? Um, and so I hope that there is some regulations around like the female side of things with taking high levels of male hormone. But again, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. And the other thing that worries me is the age, like the age of the athletes that we're going to allow to do this. Um, because again, starting to mess with the endocrine function of like, an 18-year-old,
Mm.
right? And then there's again irreversible things that can happen. So are we choosing like is there an age minimum? Are we choosing athletes who are like later in their career and they're trying to extend their career? Are you, or would you say if you're of this age, you're not allowed for health reasons to take, endocrine disrupting hormones? Like I don't, and again, these are questions that I have because these are the things that I would be concerned about. Um,
You would think they should put some kind of age limit on it like that because you're not fully developed, right? And that we see it in the Olympics now. You 15-year-old girls getting caught on PDs and on performance enhancing drugs, and they probably don't even know, or some of them might not even know because their trainers and coaches are just giving it to them and stuff like that. But yeah,
yeah.
at that age, it can completely change how you develop and change the rest of your life. And you don't know
Mhm.
at that age where your life's going to go. If you're an athlete further along, you've got a pretty good idea of,
Yeah.
and at least you physically developed, right? But
Right.
it is definitely a good question. And so well, I guess we'll find out the answer to it over time.
Yeah. I think we're going to be pretty shocked to see who ends up competing because I think it's going to be, um, well, I know that when I was listening to some, Aaron D'Souza is the main business owner running the project, and he said they had a significant amount of applicants from the 2024 Olympics, which again, so we're talking still pretty recently competing athletes. And I think it's the it's the dangling carrot of the money,
Yeah.
because again, so many athletes do have to live below the poverty line in order to be able to compete. So you give them the opportunity to kind of handle their training how they want and dangle $1 million if they set a world record. There's, I think, some people are just looking at it as like paycheck.
If they expand the running to include the marathon, how fast will the Kenyans go?
They dope anyways.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It might not make a damn difference.
I saw
It's funny when
recently
you think about it that
like,
these are like some of the smallest people going, and yet
yeah.
especially in the men, it might be one of the most doped up sports going.
Yeah, I saw recently a stat that was like 123 East Africans are currently serving a ban of like professional marathoners. I was like, geez, it's like every week we see another one. Um, yeah. And again, it's one of the frustrations with the system is um even when you're in it and you're a clean athlete and like your competitors are. Even if you don't know, they are. and how frustrating it must be because, they're taking those podiums and they're taking the prize money, but you can't do anything about it.
We've talked with
So,
people who are at the high end of competitive sports and know specific people who are doping, and they're like,
what
and
are
I
you
gotta
going to
compete
do?
against that. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And it's not just like, it's not like me who like I know I compete against guys who are taking testosterone, but I'm
Yeah.
almost okay with it because most of them are just taking it for to stay healthy and whatever the case may be. And I can accept that. And this is age group stuff, so who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, when these people are like elite and professional and they know other people they're competing against specifically taking for sure, and there's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I mean, there's even in the Olympics, there's like
Yeah.
medical exemptions and stuff, but that gets abused too. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited to see when is it happening?
July next year, so July
2026.
2026. I know they had originally, when I first started reading about it, they originally were trying to get it in 2025, but they've secured locations in 2026 in Vegas. So I think Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
Everybody was doing Murph.
Yeah.
Oh, don't pay
Yeah.
attention.
Well, and the whole facility thing
Put
was another
Murph in it, damn it. There you
Murph.
go. I want
Yeah.
Murph. I want Murph in the enhanced games.
Yeah. Put CrossFit in the enhanced games. Just kidding, it already is. Um
Ooh, only about
so
50%.
what's that?
Only
Yeah.
about 50%.
Um Uh, what was I going to say about that? Oh, yeah, the other thing again, because a lot of this is about like the political and financial scams of the Olympics, is that they're not building new facilities like every, cities do. The billions of dollars that is dumped into, athlete villages with cardboard beds and, completely restructuring the public transit system and building these facilities that are used for, 4 weeks and then they're abandoned. And it's such a colossal waste of money. So they've even stated they don't even plan to always have every event in the same city. Like if it makes more sense to have one sport in Vegas and one sport, somewhere else, then they'll do it. Because really most people are watching online anyways.
Yeah.
So to just be a little bit smarter about the funds and, the complete wastefulness that is often the Olympics.
And can we not have a 6 hour opening ceremony? I'm not talking about waste of money.
Yeah.
That's just for pompous people to walk out and wave their hands and go, look, I'm involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a spectacle for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that'll be something. Like I said, I'm interested. I'm interested to see how it goes. It'll be a show.
Mhm.
And I think back to other things, like I said, when the UFC come back, I think back to the hockey gladiators thing. I don't know if you remember that. That might have been a little bit because I was pretty young when that came out.
Uh, Gladiators?
No, no, not like American gladiators, hockey gladiators.
Oh,
They actually just had staged hockey fights on a
really?
pay-per-view. Yeah, yeah. It was like two guys skated in the middle of the ring. They had to wear almost like MMA gloves, and they just went at it like a stage hockey fight. It was one pay-per-view, but
Did anybody die?
no, nobody died. It was different. It was a spectacle. It was a one-time thing, but I think
Huh.
this has a lot more wheels than that.
Yeah. Well, and again, you're just reminding me of something else too with banned substances is there are, when we're talking about combat sports, like there's banned substances that would even help reduce the risk of concussions. Like, so there are things too where we're really, I do really think that their goal is still to help the athlete long term. It's going to be, there's still going to be problems with it, like there is with anything, but I think um, it is ultimately about the athlete first. Um, but I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy, and I have seen some friends who are in, more like again like Olympic level type, and who are like really upset about it and think it's completely setting the wrong context and the wrong role models in sport for kids growing up. And the one of the problems too is that I think when you add in the enhancement level, you're also creating a situation where will athletes need to do something in order to be competitive anymore in these sports? So then when that's in play, now you're talking about a financial cost. So it's all, the stuff that people take isn't always cheap, but if what's everyone's doing, like, so then now you're kind of creating a divide between those that can afford it and those that can't.
Yep.
And then, will the people that can't still be able to compete? Um,
Well,
which
not
again,
just
it's a question that I think about too.
not just will they able to compete, but I think and this is the risk, is if this is successful, if this works really well, if it goes good, all of a sudden the people who want to compete clean will not have a venue to do so, right? Like theoretically, that's the road it could
Right.
be down. Because if let and this is pie, down the road, who knows, weird kind of pie in the sky thinking, but if the enhanced games becomes successful and all of a sudden that's the major event compared to the Olympics, the people who want to compete clean will not have that major stage. Now that said, they barely do now because
Right.
of the corruption and the way it is right now. Hot
And
take.
it's once every 4 years. And
That's right. Hot take. What's more corrupt, the NCAA or the IOC?
oh,
I just thought of that.
well, I think
Who
the
is
IOC.
Yeah, but who is, yeah, you know what I mean? Like who is taking advantage of the athletes more? And I think the NCAA used to be worse. They've gotten
Yeah.
better because through legal action they had to get better.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were having these billion-dollar stadiums and raking in all these money from athletes, and the athletes, oh no, you can't even have a job at McDonald's.
Yeah. You're not allowed. Well, you can have a job, but you can't make money from your sport.
Yeah, like it was
Yeah.
just,
Like we couldn't accept prize money from road races and stuff.
yeah, yeah. Even if it was like $500.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all pretty fucking corrupt.
Yeah. It definitely is. Yeah. But, and this was something else that I was thinking about with the whole drug testing, because that's just as much flawed, like the
Hmm.
system itself. So if we're not, like, I think we say clean, but it's really not. And this is one of the reasons too that I think when we say, the East Africans, how do we have so many of them that are constantly, but unless you're testing, randomized testing, out of competition, then they just basically have to work the numbers. And then just if they're just being tested at competition time, then they just make sure that they know the half-life of whatever they're taking and it's out of their system. So I think some of the we have advancement in testing, so we can test old samples and stuff, but unless they're going out to um their training camps and stuff and testing them out of season, then it doesn't really matter. And it's kind of like with if they only do testing at the CrossFit Games, well, what about the whole rest of the season?
Well, and we do know from Carolyn that they did randomly test her, which was nice to see.
Hmm.
And actually,
Yeah.
she was quite pleased with it because she had not, she
Yeah.
hadn't had that happen before. So as much as an inconvenience as it was for her, she was happy to see they did it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I couldn't think of a more likely person to pass the test than her. So,
Right.
I'm not sure that that's not premeditated.
Yeah.
But it's something. It's something, all right.
Yeah. And
So
I mean, it's going to be something that High Rocks is going to have to look at if they're going to continue to, fight for like clean sport. Like you have to test these athletes outside of the world championships too.
yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more next week. But like, and because I'm going to dig for some information, are they testing the doubles athletes?
Hmm.
Because we do know that they'll test some of the solo, but will they test the doubles athletes?
Yeah.
It's
There's prize money on the line, so I think they should be, but
at least something. There should at least be a solid threat of it.
yeah.
Like hey, we're going to test two teams. Which
Mhm.
ones? We don't know.
Yeah.
The whole we don't know is always a great move. I always like that. Yeah, we don't know. Likely be the podiums, but probably be some other ones.
Yeah.
We'll literally do the podium and then we'll roll the dice. 7 and 12. Those are the ones we're doing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
whatever
I
it is.
think that's a great idea. Mhm.
Testing by dice. Anyway, enhanced games, you can look it up on Instagram, they have some stuff there and the website and whatnot. Um, yeah, we'll be watching it for sure.
Mhm.
All right. I think that's good for this week.
Yeah. All right. You gave me the opportunity to just go off about something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
want, I want, I want it. I want to see it.
I
I'm.
know.
Then
I'm
again,
just
we've
so
talked about,
fascinated
yeah,
by it. Yeah.
we've talked about steroids many times and stuff. And here's the thing: we always come off the one way because we're against cheating,
Yeah.
right? But if it's not cheating, then I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also for the health of the athlete.
Yeah.
So, we know too that, high levels of anabolics is dangerous and, kids messing around with it in the gym, that's super dangerous. And but again, like people need better information. And I'm about the health of the athlete and cheating. Exactly. So
No, I mean,
yeah.
if you go to a gym and like almost any guy who goes to the gym and starts lifting at all, someone's gonna offer you something. Someone's gonna proposition. It happens to me, and I work out at home, and it's just Riley and the dog. So, I mean, you're always getting proposition.
I said the stat wrong. So it wasn't 75% of people are using, it was 75% of people have strongly considered it
Oh yeah, yeah.
indoors.
And I
Yeah.
believe that. And like I've said before, when I was doing gym bro stuff, I would estimate 50% of the guys I talked to were doing something,
Yeah.
just from talking with them. And that's the guys that admitted it. And they were not competing for anything. They just wanted to bench more or look bigger or do whatever.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, so then there's a vanity aspect to some of this too. And there's a performance aspect to some of this.
Yeah. And that's why I'm convinced that there's so much going on in high rocks and hybrid sports because I mean, let's be honest, so much of high rocks currently is vanity right now. Like,
Yeah.
your
It's
pictures and all that. So anyway, yeah, let's get out of here.
all right. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Yeah. And I mean, check out the enhanced games. It's interesting. I think it's going to change some things, some for the good, some for the bad with everything, but it's good to be informed. Till next time.
Take care.